When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of an offensive guard on the football field, but getting an elementary school crossing guard. Sure, they're both guards, but you can only trust one to keep your quarterback safe when the game is on the line. So don't settle for just any insurance when there's State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Hello everyone and welcome to How Are The Podcast, sponsored by Live Score Bets. It's Gav and you join us for our match day preview with Sunderland take on Leeds United at the Stadium of Light in the Premier League. I still can't get over, have to say that we're a Premier League team. But here we are at Christmas, flying high, looking to even potentially breach those top 5 places in the league. And I'm really looking forward to this one with it being our first proper festive fixture. And I'm joined today by two lovely young sprightly Christmas festive gentlemen to chat all about it. First up, we've got Andrew Smithson. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Nice to see you. And just like you, I cannot wait for this game. I think it's going to be, it's always a good one, isn't it? The first game just after Christmas. It's should be good.
Yeah, everyone's normally in very good spirits. And also with us is Johnny Hawley, who seems to be podcasting from a similar location to me, someone's spare room. I guess that's part of Christmas, isn't it? We never stop podcasting no matter where we are. So yes, how are you, mate?
Yeah. I've made the dangerous and lonely trek to the spare room to set up the microphone and the recording equipment. So yeah, I'm like you though, lads. I'm absolutely buzzing for this game. I cannot wait. It's annoying that it's a bit later than usual, but it does make you get that extra anticipation because you just cannot wait to see Sunderland play some football. Aye, that's the only present left for Santa to deliver.
Yeah, I'm at the in-laws, so I'm. That was kind of me compromise. Well, if we're coming down here, I need to be back for the match. So as we record this, it's the day before match day, of course. And yeah, I'm in the morning. I'm making my full family trips back to the northeast so I can get to the pub in time for the match. So you know, it never stops at Christmas. How was Christmas for you, Johnny? How was it been?
I just plenty turkey, plenty gravy, plenty roasties, all the works. Busy, like doing the round, seeing the family. Busy, but thoroughly enjoyable. Wouldn't change it for the world.
It's crap the football fixture being, the sort of calendar being messed with, though, Andrew, isn't it? Like, I know we've talked about this before, but like, it just, I know there were EFL games yesterday, but it's not the same, is it? It's just not the same not playing on Boxing Day. I'm just not used to it.
No, I'm like you. I think we need to play on the 26th. You're talking there about you having to be back up in time for the game. I remember one Boxing Day we played Leeds. I set off at like daft o'clock in the morning from Gosport. I was telling you that we've got family down there, so we had Christmas down there one year. Getting up at daft o'clock in the morning on Boxing Day to do the 6.5-hour drive back up to Sunderland to see us play Leeds on Boxing Day. I had a blowout on the motorway where the tyre just popped and I was weaving across all 3 lanes. I finally get to the game. And we blooming lose it. I think we lost 3-2.
Was that the one when Milner scored for Leeds?
Ooh.
Or am I going too far back? I remember playing them. We played them on Boxing Day. I'm sure James Milner scored, and he was only like 16 or something. And there was another one where Aaron Lennon scored, and it was similar. He was just a Ben. We should have this up in front of us, actually. But yeah, I remember. I kind of remember that game.
I think I might have still been at home for those. But yeah, that year I would have been quite happy if the game had been put back a couple of days and then I wouldn't have had to have dashed up. But other than that, I think it should be the law. Everybody should have a game on Boxing Day.
I suppose it did put all the focus on the Mags and they got beat again. So, at least everyone got to watch them embarrass themselves. I didn't even watch the game. I just saw the result and laughed and chuckled to myself that they couldn't even beat Man United, who had about 5 fit players. But we're not here to talk about them anyways. We're here to talk all about Sunderland and Leeds, which there's history behind this fixture, isn't there, Johnny? It's Sunderland and Leeds they are synonymous with each other. I was talking obviously to Conor McGilligan on the preview and when I did his show, because we kind of flipped it around. If people want to watch that, they can find it on YouTube. He was asking, what do you think of Leeds? Like, do you hate Leeds? And I was like, well, we do sing a song about hating Leeds, but I don't really know why, because I don't hate Leeds. I've got no beef with Leeds, really. As if anything, I've only got happy memories of playing Leeds, and I wasn't even born. I just think of Leeds and I think of the cup final, but it's one of those games where we do have a bit of history, isn't it? And it does add something to it, I think.
Adds a bit of spice, I think. It makes it more interesting than your average run-of-the-mill, 2 similar-sized clubs playing each other in, whatever division it is at the time. And there's a bit of extra, spice might be the wrong word, but there's, a bit of recent history in the fixture as well, isn't there? You think of those 2 games last season. Obviously, you were talking to Connor about them. There was one which ended slightly better for us than the other one. But yeah, those sort of things. And then you were talking there about the other Boxing Day games we've played against them before and Milner scoring and this and that. So all those kind of moments that stick in your mind, they do add a bit more to the game, I think. And yeah, it's an interesting one this season in particular as well, because obviously we both went up at the same time. So It feels like a proper yardstick for whoever wins the game. Assuming it's not a draw but whoever wins the game is going to be coming away really feeling like they've, made an impression and almost proved something, I think, to the other fan base this time.
Yeah. That is true, isn't it, Andrew? When you think we played them last season and actually they edged us. I was saying to Connor on that pod that the defeat at Elland Road, we had victory right there with Wilson Isidore's goal, and they just did what they seemed to do quite a bit last year, and they rallied late and they beat us. And that was the day when it all kind of changed for us, because I think that was basically the day when we accepted we weren't going to go up automatically. I think we dropped away too much by that point. And again, I said this to Connor, actually, that was probably for the best for us, because it refocused the football club. And we were like, right, all our energy goes into finishing 4th, getting into the playoffs. And then when we get there, we have a plan for it. But it is fresh, isn't it? And they did get the upper hand on Sunderland last season. So I know a lot of these players that we've got now weren't around then, and they don't really probably appreciate that. But I would like to think the likes of Dan Ballard and Dennis Certain will be around the squad, and Mayenda and Isidore and Lefay. I think those players will be getting that across. Like these, we were a bit hurt last year from playing these, and they did kind of disrupt our season. And I'm hoping that kind of feeds into this one.
I think it will do, yeah. You're right, that Leeds game was a bit of a momentum change, and a few people kind of felt at full time, Sunderland aren't in the automatic race. But regardless of how Sunderland reacted to that game, Leeds thought it was important as well, because if you remember, they were on the pitch about 20 minutes afterwards, still celebrating and giving it all 6-0 in front of the crowd. So for them, it was big in their push. And Leeds last season, they kind of shook off that Leeds are falling apart reputation and became a bit like a machine from that point onwards. So it meant a lot to them. And yeah, I do think the Sunderland players who were around at the time were probably a little bit stung by that and thought, oh well, lads, let's settle down. You've gone a bit early here with your celebrations. I also think, though, the fact that Lebris has now had a couple of games against, it's Daniel Farke, isn't it? The Leeds manager.
Yes, it's Daniel Farke. You've got to say it like that. You can't just say Daniel Farke.
I'm telling you now, I'll not be saying it like that. But you do you, Gav. That wasn't too bad. Good old Mr. Farke. I think the fact that Lebris knows a bit about him and has experience of going up against him, I think that's another thing that just adds a little bit to what we're saying about this extra spice and this history with Leeds. a lot of the time in the Premier League, he's up against new adversaries. But he might fancy himself now against Farke, and he's played against him a couple of times. Do that again, please, Gav. That was quite funny, that. Oh, what a... Can you do the rest of the... Yeah, do any questions about Leeds' tactics in that voice, please, mate? That would be lovely.
Do the full pod from this point in that voice. Nah, nobody needs to hear that.
But there's a bit of understanding of the two clubs there, and yeah, those Sunderland players who were around last season will want to get one over Leeds and say, listen, yous might have won the battle that day, but you haven't won the war because we've now overtaken you in terms of progress.
Yeah, it is interesting kind of seeing how the two teams marry up going into this, Johnny, because to be honest, I think it was maybe 3-4 weeks ago, I was like, it's probably a bottom four, like Leeds are probably going to get relegated. And then they've just had this, because I actually saw, it was a thumbnail from one of Connor's videos, and he was like talking about how Farke was under pressure, and it was like a really important point in the season. And then they've just had this 3 or 4 weeks where they've been relentless. I mean, they got beat off Man City, but they probably could have won the game, and there was a lot of goals scored. They've battered Crystal Palace, and had some other really good. I think they drew 3s each with Liverpool, didn't they? I mean, they've found a way to score goals. As Connor said to us, they've changed the system. They've gone to a sort of 3-5-2 with the two strikers up there winning the long balls, and it just seems to be working for them. So it's a really interesting time to be playing Leeds, and they're going to be confident. Like, they're going to be coming into this game thinking, all right, nobody's beat Sunderland at the Stadium yet this season, but what have we got to lose? They've actually took pressure off themselves by picking up some really important results recently, and I think it probably adds a lot to the game, actually. It's not just one of them where you look at it and you go, Leeds at home, we should be winning that one. I don't think that's the case now. I think we're probably a little bit more cautious than we might have been maybe a month or so ago.
Absolutely, yeah. It's probably the worst time in the season to play them, to be honest. They've finally found that run of form, like you say, started scoring goals, and we're now at our maximum amount of players gone for AFCON. So, yeah, it definitely makes it a much tougher challenge than it otherwise would have been. Like you say, I was the same. Even a few weeks ago, you're looking at the fixture list and looking at this game and thinking, we should be beating Leeds at home pretty comfortably, with no worries. But now it's definitely a different proposition. I still, we'll get onto predictions and that at the end, I'm sure, but I'm still confident. Like you said, we're unbeaten at home still. We're on a really good run of form ourselves. We've played some very, very difficult teams, including away from home as well, over the last 5 or 6 games, and we've picked up some important points. So it's not like we're going onto this one a bit flat and they're picking up form. It's actually two good teams going against each other, which is nice. I think it's a good advert for the Football League and the Championship, that there's going to be, one of the flagship fixtures. We can debate the quality of this particular Super Sunday, but, one of the Super Sunday games is two newly promoted teams who've gone up, both playing well, both getting a lot of plaudits at the minute. And it'll be, I think Andrew was saying before, it's like a chance for Reggie to maybe get one over on Farke again after just coming up short last season. So, yeah, there's plenty of motivation there for us, and I'm sure the lads, what Jacka and Reggie get the lads like every week. I'm sure they're going to be up for it. But yeah, I think it'll be a cracking game, because now that they've finally got a way to score goals, it should make for quite a decent watch, as well as home being 3 points for us.
Yeah, Johnny said there, Andrew, about the fact that this is now technically the most stretched the squad's been because of AFCON, because obviously Habib Diarra has now gone off to join Senegal. So we're another body short there. How does that make you feel going? You're a little bit sort of sceptical at all or not? Because I thought last week at Brighton we looked pretty good, but it's a totally different game, isn't it, when you're away from home? Like, you go to Brighton away from home, we can do our fundamentals, we can sit in, we can keep our shape, we can defend, we know we can do that. I mean, the defence hasn't taken as much of a battering as the midfield has due to AFCON. So you look at that and you go, well, we will at least be able to defend. But at the Stadium, it's very different. The fans are going to be expecting Sunderland to be competitive, show a bit of quality in front of goal, and probably have more of the ball than we did for parts of that second half against Brighton. But do we have the players to do it? I mean, it's made us a little bit more unpredictable, I think. I don't really know what to expect from us in terms of team selection and then approach for this one, because where you would ordinarily have Noah Siddiqui, you're then putting Luchel Gatroida, who was very good at Brighton. Then, you're looking on the wings, and those positions are still up for grabs, really. I don't think Simon Adingra and Chris Rigg did anything to say I should be starting next week. So I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of team selection right now, but in terms of approach, I think we are probably as unpredictable for this one as we've been all season, I would say.
Yeah, I think you're right. Given the circumstances and the way this game has come along, it's hard to know what to expect. As Johnny's mentioned there as well, Leeds have picked up of late, mainly at home, mind. Their away form hasn't quite caught up with the home form yet. So there's a few factors at play, but we should be used to this now, lads. Whenever we sit here and try and predict what the formation's going to be or how the game's going to pan out, Lebris has always got something up his sleeve. So it's hard to know exactly what to expect, but you use the term fundamentals. And we know that will always be the case. Sunderland will always do certain things correctly and go about things in the right way. The finer details are still up for debate, and we'll probably not know that until the game kicks off. But I'm not too concerned. AFCON has never been as much of a worry for me as other people. I think the only time it will become really significant is if Xhaka or Enzo Lefebvre get a booking. I think they're both on 4 yellows now.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's the chance that we could go into the Man City game looking really weak in terms of numbers in midfield. But that's for another day. Against Leeds, I still think we've got enough quality still on Weir side, still at the club to fancy our chances.
Yeah. It's going to, as we record this, lads, obviously there's a full fixture list practically today, so we don't know the outcomes of them games. But if you just focus on Sunderland and focus on what we can do, Johnny, I mean, you're looking at potentially going on to 30 points in the table, which as of recording would be good enough to get you to 4th. I mean, obviously by the time, we come to play, the other games will have played out. We won't be able to go as high as that. But the point being that we could be, before the end of the year, on 30 points is insane, isn't it? I know we do this every week where we sit and we just can't believe what we're talking about. But Sunderland could be on 30 points by New Year's Day. That to me is just mind-blowing. And again, it's a good time, isn't it, to sit and park your thoughts and go, how well have we done so far this season?
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely another one of those moments where I had that feeling again of like, nah, he's not actually saying that, is he? He can't be. We can't be 4th at New Year. That's ridiculous, but it's true. It's a really nice, I think, it's a nice marker for the club to show how far they have come since Kirill Louis-Dreyfus came in. And then in particular, since Regis Lebris came in, obviously, we've had the promotion. We've had so many amazing moments along the way. So then to have something, it would be nice as well to have like a nice round 30 points, like a nice little target to meet and hit and have ticked off at the end of the year, be right up the top end of the table. I think it would just sum up the way that things have gone for Sunderland in 2025. So it's incredible. Like, top 6 at Christmas, newly promoted team. It's absolutely mind blowing. So yeah, I mean, obviously massive credit to everyone at the club, because I can't believe the way that they've gone about this season. And if we do beat Leeds, which obviously we all hope we do, not only does it take us to 30 points and, put us wherever it puts us in the table, I think, again, it's just yet another, like, I was saying at the start of the season, you want to tick as many things off as possible as you go, first win, first home win, first away win, all the rest of it. It'll be nice to tick off beating one of the promoted teams as well, because obviously we're one of them. We can't beat ourselves, although we do give it a go sometimes. And, obviously we played Burnley at Turf Moor and didn't get the result we want. So it would just be another little, another arrow in the quiver or whatever metaphor I'm grasping for there, just to show that we're still progressing.
That was a nice one to pluck out, considering it's like you're probably like me. You're a little bit weary from Christmas, and mine's not working as fast as it normally does.
The bags under my eyes have got bags on them.
You're the king of the pinch yourself moment, Andrew. You love reflecting, don't you, when you think about what's gone on? But it's true to be in a position where we could put ourselves on 30 points as we sit here on it'll be the 28th of December. We could be on 30 points. It is mind blowing. Like, and I'm just. I think it's something we should be really proud of. And even if we don't get a result against Leeds, to be on 27 points it's still ridiculous, isn't it? But that is a nice target to hit. If you can round out the year with 30 points, it does show. It probably gives you that. You will sit back at that point and go, right, I can actually see where this season could progress to with January opening, the January transfer window opening, with I think I heard Darren McAnthony, I think, once talking about this on TalkSport or something, but he was saying, you basically ignore the league table, and then when you get to Christmas, you see where you are, and that's pretty much where you're going to be, and your transfer window can dictate whether you stay there or not. And I think that's probably the case, isn't it, to be sat here and talking about, all right, we could be on 30 points, we could broach the top 4 if results go our way. It's crazy.
It is, and you're right, I love kind of taking a step back and looking at those positions and just thinking, God blimey, we've come a long way, haven't we? You're right. Hitting 30 would be a lovely little boost for everyone. But even still, even if we are in talks with a player right now, and I suspect we will be, I don't think we'll wait until the 1st of January before we make our first phone call with regards to strengthenings. So yeah, a player who's considering moving to Sunderland will at the moment be able to look at the league and say, yes, Sunderland are up there, and they really mean business. This issue about how many points we've got and us potentially getting to 30, lads, we've had 2 or 3 seasons where we'd be over the moon to be on 27 points come May. Never mind, never mind before the new year. And Leeds, I've just had a look there, they're on 19 points. I thought that was roughly where Sunderland were going to be round about now. Doing okay, not pulling up any trees, but enough points to be reasonably confident of staying up. The fact that we are the ones in the top half and doing well and are talking more about potential Europe than potential relegation instead of Leeds speaks volumes, because how many points did they finish above us last season? I think
you'll find it was 24. They did remind us of that quite a lot in the summer, yeah.
So, I mean, that's so basically 24. So half a season's worth of points they've finished above us. And we're now not only talking about being level pegging with them, we've exceeded that and gone way much further down the road. So we have progressed really, really well. And if getting to 30 means there's a nice little pat on the back and everybody in the squad can take stock and think, yeah, we are going on the right track, that would be amazing. And it would be lovely as that little reminder to everybody that, yeah, you're doing all right, lads. Keep it up.
Yeah. Well, we'll go for a break, and then when we come back, we'll chat about team selections and tactics and pretend that we know what we're talking about. And maybe Regis Libris will take some of our advice. Maybe not. We'll see in a bit.
Game's over. Time to check my fantasy scores.
You using a VPN?
Why?
Because using public Wi-Fi without a VPN is like leaving your wallet open on the table.
Oh. Time to up my defense.
McAfee Secure VPN keeps your personal information private and is included in all McAfee plans starting at just $39.99 for your first year. Sign up at McAfee.com/online protection.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, Hilton stay, oh, Hilton stay. Your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, oh, Hilton stay. A holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
Welcome back to How Are the Podcast, sponsored by LiveScoreBet. And like I said before the break, we're going to chat a little bit about maybe how we approach this game, because as I said before at the start, Leeds have completely changed the way they play, Johnny. They've gone to a three at the back system with wing backs, two strikers up front. And as Connor said to us on that preview show, it's completely revolutionised the way they play, the results that they're getting. It's all been down to the shape of the team. And it was interesting listening to him because he was telling me about the way they play, and it sounded just like how we play. He was talking about getting the ball up long to the strikers and winning the knockdowns, and being first to second balls, and being very organised at the back. He talked about that back three being rock solid, and the two midfielders in the middle kind of shoring things up when they were under pressure. And I was listening, thinking that sounds a lot like Sunderland. That again is very, very interesting, because Regis Lebris, he doesn't go into games where you go, well, we're definitely going to play, five at the back and we're going to do this. A bit like Leeds, they're very predictable. I don't think we are. So knowing that, what do we do? Like, how do we set up for this one? Because I don't think the answer is to match them up. I think we're probably going to see Sunderland play with a back four, which is interesting again, because we don't have Ronaldo. We don't have Arthur Masuaku. It could be an opportunity for Dennis Serkin to finally come in. I mean, Trey Hume could play in the midfield. I don't know what he's going to do, but what do you reckon in terms of the shape?
I'm with you. You took the words right out of my mouth, to be honest. Like, we've seen Lebris match us up against 3 or 5 at the back, however you want to describe it. We've seen that happen a few times, haven't we? And we've had, a decent amount of success doing that. So by that logic, you could argue for a back 3, but I'm with you. I think we'll go with a 4, and I think it's the right decision. I just think we need, particularly in the absence of Siddiqui, I just think we need the 3 in midfield for me. I think that's going to be important for us to still be able to maintain a level of control in that area of the pitch. I just think we're, the man advantage we can get there numerically will be huge. Obviously, the interesting questions are about who starts on the wings. I mean, I'm sure we'll get onto the actual personnel shortly. But yeah, I'm with you. I think 4's the way to go. And I also think, yes, Leeds play a very similar style of football to us by the sounds of it, and from the little bits that I have managed to catch of them over the past few weeks. But it's a very different kettle of fish trying to do it away from home than do it at home. Like Andrew mentioned before, that, their away form, taking a little while to catch up to the home form, might be the most generous way you could have put that. But it's true. And I mean, we've seen it ourselves, haven't we? We've picked up far more points at home than we have on the road. So in some ways, maybe it lends itself nicely to Leeds to be able to bed in and scrap when they're the away team. But I do think the fact that we're so good at home and we tend to be a bit more intense and a bit more aggressive, I think, earlier in games at home. Hopefully, that's all the ingredients that will come together and deliver a good Sunderland performance. But because, like you say, it's going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds. I think you said when you were talking on Connor's show that Lebris sees football like a chess match, and the first half he just spends feeling the other team out. I totally agree. I think that was a brilliant description, and it's exactly what he does. So it'll be interesting to see if he does end up making tweaks at half time. You know what I mean? I think we could see potentially quite different game plans from first to second half of this game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm actually looking at this and thinking, well, if they're going to go with the 2 up front and go long, that kind of suits Alderete and Ballard. So I'm not too sure that would work necessarily, but it sounds like that's what they're going to do. And it sounds like Calvert-Lewin's in a rich vein of form, Andrew. He's somebody we were linked with in the summer. And I've got to be honest, when I heard his name linked to us, I wasn't enamoured at all. When I think of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I just think injuries, like wasted potential, injuries. But looks like he's found his feet at Leeds. And when he is on form, he is a threat. I think it was when Ancelotti was the Everton manager, when he was really at his pomp at Everton and, was playing for England and stuff like that. That's the level of player that he can be. And that's what we've got to be guarded against. But then I look at the rest of the season and I look at, Haaland never got a sniff out of our defence. Mateta earlier in the season, Palace never touched the ball. Arsenal, when Mourinho was playing up front, never touched the ball. Like, when we've played in these big games, particularly at the Stadium of Light, actually, our defence has coped very well. And I don't know about you, but I don't really worry. I could be making me words here, but I'm not looking at it and going, I'm really worried about Calvert-Lewin and Mecha. I'm actually just looking at it and thinking, if we do our jobs properly, he'll not get a sniff, because Dan Ballard is the best header of the ball and, in my opinion, the best defender in the Premier League at the minute. I don't know if you saw the same as me, Andrew, but there was it was the sort of end of year team of the season type thing. Jamie Carragher did one, and there was a Finalysis one on Sky. And I think the fan one, Ballard got into the team, but I actually think he's been the best centre half in the league. So my point's kind of like, it doesn't matter how good they playing when you've got the best defender in the league in your defence, in my opinion. But then they should be worrying about us, surely.
Oh, definitely. I mean, just keep Ballard under your hat though, Gav, because
I don't think there's any keeping him under anyone's hat. He just headed away.
Yeah, we are getting to the point where I can see some pretty significant bids coming in for him over the summer, because I wouldn't
even say the summer, Andrew. I would say you're gonna. I don't think we're going to sell any big players in January, but there's going to be teams looking at Ballard and going, "I'd love him," and they'll test the waters.
Possibly. I mean, we've always known that he was talented, but he's gone up 2 or 3 levels over the last half a year.
100%, yeah.
And in terms of durability as well. Mm-hmm. You said there about eating your words. I'm always careful in pods about saying certain things prior to a game, because I think it's just asking for trouble. But Ballard has been consistent in the team, whereas in previous seasons he's been in and out due to injuries. I think you're right. We're at a point where Leeds need to worry about us. The question about do we play 4 at the back or not? We've just kept 2 clean sheets in our last 2 games with 4 at the back, and barely looked in any danger whatsoever. So to start tweaking that now would be difficult. Calvert-Lewin is capable. He's in a little bit of form, but I think Alderete and Ballard would look at him and think, "Hey, we've got a good chance of properly eating this lad up." He was somebody we were linked with, and the fact that we didn't go for Calvert-Lewin was another clue to us over the summer, wasn't it? That we're not just settling for 15th or 16th. We're looking at a completely different level of player, and we are wanting to do something different to what Leeds are doing in the just coming up and trying to survive.
Yeah.
We're trying to do something completely different to that.
Well, he's probably... And again, I hope no Leeds fans are listening to think I'm being disrespectful, but there's a reason he kind of ended up at Leeds, right? Like a newly promoted team on a free transfer. I think Calvert-Lewin fit and fight. Like the current Calvert-Lewin probably would have got to move to a higher placed team, maybe playing in Europe or something, because he is a good player, but he's his injury record has been poor over recent years, and there's a reason why. He was, because he didn't sign for Leeds straight away either. By the way, it was kind of late in the summer, if I remember rightly. But look, he's found his feet. That's all in the past now, But you look at the rest of the team, Andrew, and they've got strong defenders, and that makes again team selection interesting, because I love Wilson Isidore, but when he plays up against defenders who are rough and tough, he can go missing, and he does struggle to get into games. As hard as he tries to work, he isn't a Brian Broby. He's not gonna back into defenders and hold the ball up. So again, that's interesting, isn't it? Like, who do we go with up front? Who do we play on the wings? Like if we're saying we're going to go with a 4, we kind of guess what the defense is probably going to be. You know what I mean? But it's like it's the rest of the team, isn't it? And we've talked about this a little bit on pods this week because of the fact that we aren't scoring much at the minute. It's like, and Labrise will be conscious of that, won't he? And he'll be thinking, right, what's the combination that's going to actually click and work? And I think that's almost as important as anything when it comes to team selection for this one.
It is important, but as Jonny said, the starting 11 and then the finishing 11 are going to be two very different things, I think. We'll see tweaks during the game. Labrise does like the first half an hour, the first 45 minutes to just suss out what the opposition are doing. I think I heard a stat, it might have even been on one of our pods. Have Sunderland scored the least amount of goals in the first half this season, or they're down near the bottom in terms of goals before the break, because we don't necessarily go all guns blazing. So I think you select your starting 11 with a view to them doing a job for 70 minutes, wearing out Leeds, because Leeds are, like you said, Leeds have got a couple of strong defenders. They're not shocking. They're not a dreadful team. They are decent. But purely in terms of league positions and difference in points gained so far, you'd have to look at this as a game Sunderland should expect to win. So start with a certain team, do things a certain way, but always with this long-term idea that as the game wears on, we'll be mixing it up and changing it. Bringing a sub on doesn't necessarily mean that the plan against Leeds has failed. It might mean that the plan is working exactly as intended.
That's the thing, Jonny, as well. You know, Andrew mentioned about later in games changing things up, making sure we've got the best chance of winning the game and stuff. But the difference now, I guess, is we don't have as many strong options off the bench. I thought at Brighton the subs weakened us, which is probably the first time I could have said this season. I think virtually every game this season, the subs have came on and we've improved. Whereas in this one, it just didn't really work. I didn't think, Isidore came on and I thought he got 8 up. Mundell came on the left and didn't really touch the ball. And, you know what I mean? And Rigg came off, but he hadn't really had a good game anyways and wasn't really replaced in any sort of way and didn't improve us at all. So that's probably been playing on the manager's mind, I think. So when it comes to the team selection, and we know that he likes to tweak things later in games, it could well be that some of these better options actually on the bench for this one, because he wants impact late in games. He wants sort of from 70 minutes onwards, he wants us to really kick on in games, and we can't afford for the game plan to have a chink in it by then bringing players on who aren't going to have an impact. So again, it makes it really, really interesting what we're going to do. I'm actually thinking, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking like some of the players who might have started last week will drop to the bench just to make sure we've got that impact.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think you're right to point out the subs weakness at Brighton. I think it felt to me like the first time since probably we played Man United, it was the first game where the subs felt like trying to put fires out on the pitch rather than trying to improve us or, having some sort of specific goal or plan in mind. Diarra coming on to replace Rigg on the right wing. So you've got one massively unfit player coming on out of position to replace another player who's barely playing out of position. Like they're not the moves of a man who's got a grand master plan, because like you say, he just doesn't have the options to turn to at the minute. So, it makes it a big game probably for somebody like a Wilson Isidore, because again, I'm sure we'll talk about the actual team, but for me, I'm expecting to see Brobby start up front. And then I expect Isidore to be the option who comes off the bench in the second half. And like you say, against Brighton, they just, they pocketed him, didn't they? As much as we all love Isidore, he just didn't get a sniff. Whereas this game, I expect to be, look, depending on how the first half goes, of course, you can't plan for every eventuality, but I expect it to be more open in the second half, a bit more space for him to maybe exploit him behind, which we all know he's, close to peerless in that regard, certainly in our squad. and he must be one of the paciest strikers in the league. So I think it's naturally a game that's easier for us to turn things around in the second half because, as I say, it suits Isidore already naturally more than the Brighton game. And I think there's other players you could say that about. But yeah, it's going to be very telling, I think, when we do see who starts the game and who's on the bench, like you say, in terms of what that split looks like of genuine options on the bench versus bodies, which, again, as much as we love him, like Leo Hjelde, he's a body. He's not a genuine option. But just to go back to something you mentioned earlier about Dennis Cirkin, this is the game where I thought, if Cirkin doesn't start this game, he's not starting any game all season. This is the one where it tells us, does he have a part to play this season? I've got a sneaking suspicion he might start. And if he does, I think we'll see more of him over the next few weeks. If he doesn't, it could be bye-bye Dennis.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about this, Andrew. Surprise inclusions. Obviously, Chris Rigg, nobody saw that one coming at Brighton. Johnny's mentioned Dennis Cirkin. I was thinking potentially this could be a game you start Eliezer Mayenda in on that right-hand side. We don't have anybody really. I'm thinking about it. There's nobody who's obvious to go out there. I thought last week it might be a Dingra. I thought, even though it's not his natural position, he might go with Mundell on the left, a Dingra on the right. He didn't do that. That's really interesting. But Rigg did okay. I didn't think he had a bad game. I just don't think he was really involved, and he's not a winger. He hasn't got that pace to cut inside and cause teams problems where I think Eliezer Mayenda does, and we've barely seen Mayenda play. So I'm just going to chuck that one out there. Like, maybe that could be a surprise inclusion. And, we're talking about struggling for goals and stuff. Well, he's always a goal threat, Eliezer Mayenda, when he's on the pitch. And I quite like him out wide. I think he works hard. I think when he drives at teams, the struggle to contain him, and this is a team he played against last season. It's not, Leeds aren't massively different to the team that we played in the Championship. So we know that he's at the level required to play against Leeds. So I just want to chuck that out there and see what you think, but I wouldn't be adverse to that. Mayenda on the right.
No, I don't mind that idea at all. I think Chris Rigg was the correct choice against Brighton, but that's an entirely different game, just purely because it's away from home. Rigg offers you the chance to be flexible and go from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1 and any other combination you can think of. Whereas if Mayenda plays, you would imagine that is more as a traditional right winger stroke for like playing on the right of a forward three. And yeah, against Leeds, expectations are different. Mayenda would be able to pin them back and cause them a threat. I don't mind that idea at all, Gav. And yeah, who knows? Lebris could be listening in and thinking, oh yeah, I was undecided, but now those two have given their thumbs up. We'll go for it. Eliezer, get your kit on. You're playing.
Let's see if we can go right through the team then, Johnny, and try and work it out. I think the goalkeeper's obvious. Of course, it'll be Robin Roofs in goal. You said about Cirkin playing that. Do you think he'll start, though? Because I don't, if I'm honest. I think Andrew mentioned before, keeping clean sheets. Do you really want to unsettle that defence too much? And what you would be doing is you'd be dropping him probably for Trey Hume, who hasn't played too badly, has he? So it's an interesting
Hume was class last week as well, wasn't he? He was very good at Brighton. Out of position was Hume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what you thinking then? Who starts?
There is still a part of us that has a weird feeling Cirkin might start, but I do think you're right. Like, logically, you look at it, who's dropping out? You wouldn't drop Hume after how he played at Brighton. So yeah, probably the same back four, you'd say. Nordy, Ballard, Alderete and Hume at left back. And then obviously, and then Xhaka picks himself. Possibly literally. He's that much of a coach's voice. Maybe he is just writing the team sheet. But yeah, Xhaka obviously is going to play in midfield. You'd imagine Geertruida is going to be in there as well. Probably.
Yeah, did very well at Brighton, didn't he? He was good.
Yeah, carried himself really well through the midfield, despite obviously being a player who can play in defence. I think predominantly has played in defence for most of his career, whether that's a fullback or what have you. Looked really good at I was going to say out position. It's not quite the same as Rigg playing right wing, but it's not his usual role. So yeah, he'll play. And then the big question is what happens for the three behind the striker, basically. if we're counting the third central midfielder as one of them, because I want to see Enzo Lafay in the middle. I want him to be in the middle of midfield because I think he influences the game a bit more there, and we've seen him have some brilliant performances there. But you just do wonder slightly whether, obviously we don't want to see Chris Rigg at right wing again, especially not at home where we want to try and take the initiative and get at them a bit. So you probably need to see an out-and-out winger on the right-hand side, whether that's Adingra, whether that's Mayenda, whoever that ends up being. And then I just wonder, is Lebris going to think, if I stick Mundle on the left and I've got an out-of-position Trey Hume and my midfield's being changed around a bit, is that going to give enough cover? So maybe you'll put Enzo Lafay on the left wing. And then, then you're dropping, well, not dropping, but then you're not picking Mundle, who's probably a better attacking outlet. So, there's going to have to be some give and take between the attack and the defence with these three. So for me, what I'd want to be doing is I'd put Enzo Lafay in the middle, Romain Mundle on the left, and I actually agree with you. I'd love to see Mayenda on the right because I think he's brilliant with the ball at his feet. Like you say, when he's running at people and driving at them, a lot of the time they can't handle him. Just, think about that goal at Bristol City last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then up front, I've already said, I think, Brian Brobby gets the nod. That's what I'd do, and it's also what I think Reggie would do. But yeah, it's a tough one to call.
Aye, yeah, I'm undecided on them wings. I would love to see Mayenda start. And you mentioned Mundle there. As much as I want to see Romain Mundle, I think he's a player who you get more from in short bursts and maybe later in games. Like if we are struggling later in the game, get him off the bench. He can really cause problems. And I was reading something on Ready to Go this morning, and it was a poster saying that he knows someone who basically watches a lot of the first team training. Apparently, according to this guy, and it might not be right, but apparently Adingra's levels in training have jumped significantly since he got that news about not going to the AFCON. And it's been noted that it seems to have really kicked him up the arse in training. And I think that'll have been a big part of those conversations between him and the manager will have been like, well, you're not going, but this is your time to shine. Shems and Talby's at the AFCON, Bertrand Traore's at the AFCON. This is your position to lose. You make the most of this, and I think players like Adingra need runs of games. I don't think you can just pull him in and out. I think he needs to really get comfortable. Seems to me if he's got confidence, he's capable of taking teams apart. I think when you've not played much and you've had a couple of blows to your confidence in terms of not being selected for your country and his move to Sunderland's not really worked out today because he hasn't been playing much. That it's going to be very difficult for him to get into a good run of form. And I just think this is a time when you keep him in the team. So I would personally stick with Adingra and maybe use Mundle as the option off the bench.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, actually. I was having this conversation with my sister's fiancé yesterday while we were watching some of the EFL games before we went to visit the rest of the family. We talked about Adingra specifically, and I totally agree. I think he's a bit of a confidence player. I think you can see that. It's been obvious even in the bits of him we've seen early in the season, but there was, I wish I could remember what minute this was, but against Brighton, there was one particular time he beats the right back, absolutely leaves him for dead. He ends up in about 3 or 4 yards of space past him, and then he cuts back and then tries to beat him again. And you're like, just make your life easy and put the ball in the box. And I think a confident Adingra, who's been playing a run of games and who's fit and firing and in good nick, I think he probably beats him, flashes a cross in, and maybe we get a goal. So, yeah, I mentioned Mundle. That's just personally, I really want to see him from the start in a game. It's just selfish. I just want to watch him. But I do agree. I think for the good of the team, I expect Adingra probably is going to play, isn't he?
Yeah. So that team to me would probably be Roofs and goals, as I said. Hume at left back. I don't love Hume at left back because you don't get much width out of him, but he's very solid. Knows his job in there. He's played left back quite a lot for us now, and he's fits in like a glove, really. Fits like a glove, even. That was an awful analogy. You can tell I've been drinking too much over Christmas. Omar Alderete, Dan Ballard at the back, Nordi Mukiele at right back. That midfield three of Xhaka. Is it we're going with Gertrude or Hertrude today? I still say Gertrude, but Andrew, you've got about 10 pronunciations of this one, so I'll defer to your superior knowledge on the pronunciations of his name. But I think he'll start. And so just in front of them, and then I can't shake this feeling that Mayenda's going to start. He's going to chuck him in out of nowhere. No one's going to see it coming. Because I don't think I just don't think anybody's nailed that position down, so why not? With Adingra on the left and Broby up front. I do think Broby's... I just think about the physicality of that defence, Andrew, and I think we're going to need to rough them up a bit if we're going to get into them. I don't think Isidore's your man for that. And I'm just very conscious of us needing to have good options off the bench. And players who can win your games, really. If it's 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, Mundell and Isidore, with their pace and their ability to just shoot, I think give us a lot. After that, we're probably struggling for we're impact off the bench, aren't we? So that would be my team. What are you thinking? Are you in agreement, or is there anything you would tweak?
I'm pretty much in agreement there. You're dead right about how Isidore's strengths are not going up in a physical battle with a big, burly central defender, but he can still be a match winner, because it's a very different prospect if he's going up against a couple of defenders who've been ragged around by Broby for an hour or so.
Yeah.
And it does change. It does move the goalposts for him. I think you stick with Hume at left back. I was really confident Serkin was going to come into the team. I really did think Sunderland were priming him so that he was ready to start a string of games. But Hume, for me, I thought was brilliant against Brighton. The only way he now comes out of that position is if we are short on numbers in midfield because of suspensions and we're forced to move him somewhere else. I think as well, if you keep Hume at left back, it does allow you to have somebody in front of him who isn't as tactically minded and isn't as disciplined, so that allows Adingra to play. I'm the same as you, Gav. I really think Adingra is in a bit of a now or never position, and he will have the bit between his teeth and really be at it. He's now played against Brighton, so he's got a bit of sharpness into his legs, knocked a bit of the rust off. I really fancy him to go at Leeds. From what I gather, I don't think Talby's actually playing. He's being called up.
He hasn't had a minute yet.
Yeah. So if I was Adingra, I'd be thinking, well, hang on. Not only am I expected to start now, but I've got a lad who, when he comes back, is not going to be match sharp. So I'm wanting to make these next 5 or 6 games make it impossible to drop me. So I think Adingra will play, like you say, the middle three, although sometimes Lefay will push up and join the attack. The middle three has to be Xhaka, Lefay and Hairtruder. You seem to think, you said earlier, I've got specialist inside information. I haven't. I've just learnt that if you say things confidently enough, Garth, people think he knows what he's on about. So Hairtruder did really well stepping in. He deserves to stay. And yeah, you've convinced me. I think Mayenda does kind of come from nowhere and start the game, and that will just be an indicator to me that Lebris recognises this as a home game against a team in the bottom half of the table. Let's go for it. Let's make Leeds worry about us rather than the other way around.
He likes to do these things though, where the other manager will, there's no way Daniel Farke will be looking at this and going, well, Mayenda's probably going to start, so we need to do this and that and the other. It's one of them where you can chuck him in and then an hour before kick-off they're like, right, shit, we weren't expecting that. And I just think he likes to do that, doesn't he? He does it quite often. All right, it didn't really work out last week, but we didn't even see Chris Rigg starting that game, so there's no way Brighton had prepared for it. And I just think it's important occasionally to keep the other team on their toes. Don't let them, get ready for this game and know too much about us. Keep them guessing right up until that point where the team sheets go in, and then when we go out onto the pitch, spring a surprise. I just think when we're talking about needing maybe a little bit something else from an attacking perspective to help us boost the goals a little bit, I just think Mayenda in this game at home is a good option. And I'd put it this way: if you offered us now Rigg or Mayenda to play on the right at home against Leeds, I'm 100 times out of 100 going with Mayenda, and that's no disrespect to Chris Rigg. I just think this is when you consider we play again in 4 days' time against Manchester City, this is the game we've got to look at and go, we should be winning this one. If we've got real aspirations for a top 6 finish, you should be beating Leeds at home. And it's I feel like there's going to be Leeds fans listening to this thinking, God, how disrespectful, but it's not the case. I just think when you put them 2 games side by side, I think this is the more winnable one, and that means that we've got to maybe take a couple of risks in terms of approach and selection, Andrew.
Definitely. As you're talking there, Gav, I'm thinking it through. I really like the idea of Mayenda and Broby, not necessarily being a front 2, but Mayenda coming in and joining up with him. If you're a defender, would you really fancy Mayenda dropping deep? You don't know whether to go with him or not. He'll drop deep, he turns, he runs at you. Do you really like the idea of Broby battling for a high ball? That sounds pretty dangerous, and you could conceivably see Broby winning a knock-on or taking it down and playing it for Mayenda to run onto. You could really see Mayenda herring down the wing and looking up, and there's Broby, and he pulls the ball back. Gav, you've got me. I was already up for this game, but you've got me well and truly going for it now, because I think those two together could really worry a defence.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get to see it. Well, let's see. Maybe Reggie's got a different plan. Maybe we're gonna have Leo Hjelde on the right or something. I don't know. That would be even more unpredictable. Speaking of predictions, let's quickly round off with a couple of those. I'm, not a massive fan of giving score predictions, but I do it anyways. I do think we win this one, but I think it's going to be close. I said 1-0 to Connor, I think. I'm not worried about Leeds. I just think when you're playing a confident team who can defend, it's going to be tight in it. It's like 2 teams who are basically set up not to concede at the minute, or at least not. Sorry, that sounds wrong, because if you look at they have conceded quite a few goals, but they are very solid at the back. And if you're Daniel Farke, Johnny, you're probably looking at this and going, a point would be a good result, even though Sunderland are a team who came up with us. This isn't the same team. They've got a great home record. If Leeds can come away with a point, they'll be happy with that, I think. So yeah, I reckon it'll be tight, but I'm saying 1-0 to us, and I just think Mayenda's got, so he's in my head at the minute. It's not Talby who's in my head, it's Eliezer Mayenda. And I just feel like he's got a part to play in this game. He's going to come from absolutely nowhere. He's going to score the winning goal, and we're going to be singing that unbelievable song again, which seems to have disappeared from the terraces because he's not been playing.
I'd take it. I'd be happy. The only thing I'm disappointed with there is that you didn't do your Daniel Farke impression again when you were giving his opinion. Yeah, we will take a point, yeah. No, terrible. No, I agree though. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I don't see there being more than a goal in it either way. I'm going to go 2-1 because as much as I think we're defensively brilliant, Leeds have got goals in them, so I could see us conceding. Yeah. And we've kept a couple of clean sheets back to back as well, so might be asking a lot to start getting like 3 and 4 clean sheets off the belt. But yeah, I still think we'll win. I think we'll edge it. I don't think it'll be a particularly dominant performance from us, but I don't think I'm a bit like you, Gav. I don't think we're ever going to be in like panic mode. We're not going to be, sitting there 5 minutes to go, squeezing your bum and worrying about, oh God,
you better be squeezing my bum. I'll be reporting it to a steward.
No, the only thing I'll be squeezing is the robot pint glass in my hand after the game. But yeah, no, I think it'll be close. I think it'll be tight. I'll say 2-1. I reckon. I think I predict this every single game, so I'll do it again. Jacques, a 30-yarder. He's due one. And actually, his Instagram story for Boxing Day was a highlight of a 30-yard free kick he scored for Arsenal on Boxing Day 5 years ago or so. So, 'tis the season for a Jacques screamer, I think. And then, aside from that, I'll say Isidore. I think it's been a little while. He's had a couple of chances. It's about time he, I was going to say breaks his duck. It's not like he's got no goals, but you know what I mean. I think it's about time he gets another one and hopefully gets them flowing for 2026.
Yeah. Go on, Andrew. What do you reckon, mate?
Well, I don't know why, but Johnny mentioning robot pints always makes me smile. My first prediction is once this call finishes, both of you two are going to get asked by loved ones, What were you doing in that room talking in a bizarre German accent? What was all that about, Johnny? Gav,
What's bizarre about it? That's a bit judgmental of you. What's bizarre about Daniel Farke?
No, what's bizarre is you two lads trying to do an impression of him. I've got no problem with Daniel Farke. You mentioned there Leo Hjelde. Gav is a wild card. He is a former Leeds player, so you never know. He'll be chomping at the bit. I think we're going to win 3-1. I love this idea of Mayenda and Robbie and Adingra having a real go at them. So yeah, let's have a couple of goals. Let's end a fantastic year with a really good win. Why not have Mundle come on to score the winning goal? So yeah, 3-1. Mundle will score. Not quite sure how it'll pan out before that though.
Well, we'll take all of those outcomes, I think. Sunderland winning is the main thing, isn't it? I don't care how we do it. It could be the opposition team's striker putting in his own net. I do not care. It's always pleasure, and I'm going to make the most of that for as long as I can. So yes, as long as we just keep winning games of football, I'll be happy. Well, thank you very much, gents. It's been a pleasure as always. Johnny, I think you're going to be joining me after the game, aren't you, for a pubcast? So
I certainly am.
Should be fun. So people can check that out on the feeds after the game. Hopefully talking about another Sunderland win. Thank you very much, Andrew. Been a pleasure, mate.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the time you have with your families before coming to the game, boys. I hope everybody who's at the match tomorrow, you know, the exiles who are back in Sunderland for a few days over Christmas, I hope everybody enjoys it. And we have a nice time just watching this team that we love watching at the moment.
Absolutely. And thank you very much, listeners. Like I say, we'll be back after the game and then with a review the morning after as well. So plenty coming up on How Are the Podcast. Just need to say thank you very much. We'll catch you later.
Sports Social Podcast Network, the biggest voices in sport. Let's take a look at some of the lineup. For the love of rugby.
What were you more nervous for? First cap or opening, strictly?
Honestly, opening strictly.
Not the top 20.
The decision to sack Wilder and replace him with anyone was a massive risk that the ownership took.
Under the cosh.
I got a text and he was like, you need to get me in because I bullied your centre-halves and made them look like kids.
All on Europe's biggest sport podcast network. Find your next favourite sport podcast. Search Sports Social Podcast Network and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Verified comparison at content.sport-social.co.uk/comparison.